This is the Outlet Forum with my esteemed co-host, Chris Camella. What up, Chris?
In the loving memory of Ted Turner, I'm going to quote James Brown when he called him out drunk on an interview. Hello, Ted.
R.I.P. Ted Turner. R.I.P. to the legend, the media mogul that
Chaz,
is
good to be back with you, man.
TNT, TBS. Good to be back. Good to be back. Good to be here talking some NBA playoff basketball only, even though I was just telling you offline, Ohtani needs to get his ass back in the box. Okay? That's the only baseball talk for today because we are in the middle of the historic NBA playoffs that feature Wemby, SGA, Jokic getting bounced out, Celtics getting bounced out. We got Ant, we got Knicks, we got Lakers. I mean, these playoffs are really, really, really good. We even got Joel Embiid, who missed tonight's game, but played in Game 7.
Don't forget the mid Cavs, by the way. The tier 2 stars, aka the spider and the beard. Tier 2.
I don't know why anybody recommends LeBron James to sign with the Cavs if he wants to still play. I have no idea why anybody would recommend him do that. But anyways, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Chris, right now,
yes,
as we speak, the score is 131-90. The Minnesota Timberwolves, after playing a great game a couple nights ago in Game 1 against the San Antonio Spurs, get blown out by 40 plus. Whatever the final score is, it will be above 40 plus. It's about a minute left currently, and the Wolves only scored 35 points in the first half, a historic low. This game was supposed to go over, in my opinion. The Wolves just completely forgot how to play basketball. The fact that they're at even 90 points after only scoring 35 in the first half is actually pretty good. They came alive in the second half. But the San Antonio Spurs, Wemby, Stephon Castle, everybody was absolutely rolling. Dylan Harper is the absolute truth. And now this series is tied 1-1, headed back to Minnesota. Very surprised that Anthony Edwards has played, given his bone bruise on hyperextension just last week. But Chris, what do you make of this series? Game 1 was epic. Game 2 was an absolute blowout. Game 3 in Minnesota, they about to turn up on Friday night. Chris, what do you make of this series, bro?
Well, first of all, good to be back on with you, partner. I know it's been a long 3 weeks for you, for us, for everything like that. So it's good to be back on here on a late night Wednesday night. But you know what, though? I think the next few weeks, at least until the conference finals get here, I think a lot of our shows are going to be like that. Minnesota, you know what's funny? I came into tonight ready to talk about how they're not a team that you focus on during the regular season. They are made for the playoffs. And I was so excited to talk about that because that was a tremendous first round knockout of the Denver Nuggets. Remember, Chaz, go back to October. You and I were talking about if there's one team that could come out of the West, it's either going to be the Oklahoma City Thunder, but if it's not them, it's going to likely be the Denver Nuggets. And Denver was having a fantastic year, and they were never quite the same after Jokic's injury in January. And when he came back, he just wasn't the same. And Minnesota, that was the one matchup that Denver probably thought we do not want to face these guys in the first round, and Minnesota showed why. And it didn't matter that Dante DiVincenzo ruptured his Achilles. It didn't matter that Anthony Edwards has a deep bone bruise. And it didn't even matter that they lost Ayo Dosunmu for the last, the last game and a half. They still found a way to win that series. And then they carried that momentum into Game 1 in an upset against the heavily favored San Antonio Spurs. But tonight, San Antonio said, you know what? We are not taking any chances. We're going to whoop on these guys from start to finish. It's been an absolute balanced attack. It's been a slaughter. But at the same point in time, Minnesota played like a team that had been up 1-0 and had already taken home court advantage away from San Antonio. So I don't know how much stock you want to put into tonight's loss for Minnesota or into tonight's win for San Antonio. But I think Game 3, you're right. That's really going to be what we're going to find out what this series is all about. But the Wolves have come to play. And I think they've been overlooked the last couple of years, even though they've made it to the Western Conference Finals. And yet it just seems like every year we're talking about Oklahoma City or Denver or the Lakers or even Houston coming into this year. Now San Antonio. Yeah. And it's like Minnesota is showing, what about us? We've got a star who's the second coming We've got, a guy like Ayo Dosunmu, who you, by the way, crapped on at the trade deadline when I said the Lakers should go after him. You're like, forget that guy. What did he do against Denver, Chaz? He dropped 43. He followed that up with 18 the other night. And tonight, obviously, he's still not 100% dealing with the calf injury, but he has shown to be an excellent addition for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Sometimes your partner does get it right once in a while. So, just saying. But yeah, this is definitely the most intriguing, one of the most intriguing series still left on the playoff board. And maybe it was just a bad night for Minnesota. We'll see how they respond in game 3 back at the Target Center.
Ayo Dosunmu has played great, especially in that Nugget series. Did wonders in that series, especially with Ant-Man out. Mike Conley stepped up. It was huge, especially for the Minnesota Timberwolves and Chris Finch. But ultimately, you got it right with Ayo Dosunmu. But at the end of the day, for the Lakers, their issue really isn't guard play more than anything. It's making shots at this point in the OKC series. And based on what we saw last night in the game 1 of that series, OKC just cruised. SGA only had 18 points, had 7 turnovers, didn't have a great game, but the Lakers just weren't able to keep up and score enough points. They only scored 90 points, and you had Rui and LeBron score 45 points, and the other 45 came from the whole rest of the team, which only 8 of that came from Austin Reeves. So you had players like Marcus Smart, Luke Kennard, Jake LaRavia. I don't know what the fuck he's doing when he gets out there.
He has not been. He has.
Why doesn't Bronny play more? He has to see the floor. I don't understand why Bronny was solid in his minutes. He wasn't great, but he wasn't bad either. Jake LaRavia has been bad, more than bad.
Yeah.
Every time he stepped on the floor, especially in times when LeBron isn't on the floor, and obviously no Luka and no AR up until 2 games ago. So I don't know what to make of this series, Chris. I want to be a Lakers optimist, but I got to be objective on this one because I don't think the Lakers can honestly win a game in this series if OKC plays better than what they did in game 1. The fact that you're probably not going to get another game like that from OKC is going to be really tough to beat them without Luka. So I see the Lakers honestly getting swept in this series, but it wouldn't surprise me if one game they just got on and hit a bunch of shots. But you got the absolute best from LeBron James, especially in that first half, to keep it within single digits. Halftime was, I think, 61-53. What pissed me off most, Chris, let me just say this.
Yeah.
JJ Redick thought that he could stay afloat for about 3 minutes at the end of the first quarter. He took out LeBron and he took out Austin Reeves. And he left out, I think, Jake LaRavia, Luke Kennard, Marcus Smart, Jackson Hayes, and Rui, I believe, were in the game. And I believe they were up 26-25, they were within 26-23. And the Thunder just
couldn't have been. I think you were right the first time. They were tied at 24. They were tied at 24.
It was close. It was close.
And then OKC. Okay. I know. I'm going to supplement your point. You're right. They went on a 12-2 run and they turned a tie game into a 10-point lead. So I agree with you. In fact, I responded to that and I said, this is JJ getting greedy over here. You have to be able to stagger the minutes. And maybe because the first unit was rolling, maybe he felt like we have bought ourselves some time. Let's see what Kennard and Smart and Hayes can do leading this second unit. But I agree with you. You cannot take those kinds of chances against this team because they remind me so much, Chaz, in this regard, not the same style, but in this regard. If you start making mistakes against them, they go on these like avalanche runs that are just so devastating, so debilitating, so demoralizing. They turn out your fucking lights, man. I'm telling you, that is why you have got moments right now to even compete with this team throughout 6 games.
They're not that great of a team, in my opinion, Chris. They're a historically great, efficient team. I just don't think that they are this team that just cannot be beat at all. I believe that they can be
No,
beat,
I didn't say they
and
can't. I
you
didn't say
just
that though.
I'm just saying with a full squad, this Laker team would be able to compete with them a solid 6 or 7 games, whether they win the series or not. They just wouldn't be getting blown out by 20, 30, 40 points if they had a full squad. I don't believe they faced them healthy for a full game with a full squad ever since Luka has been on the Lakers. In the one game that he was on, that they
I think the
were,
question,
he got suspended for or got thrown out of that game, and the Lakers were up
well,
actually in that game before they lost at the end of the fourth quarter of the game that Luka got thrown out of with that ridiculous technical foul. Like I think LeBron was out in the first game this series. I think AR was out in the second game, and obviously the third and fourth game, Luka and AR got hurt in the third game. And the fourth game, I don't think anybody
yeah,
played it. And then
no,
obviously
nobody
game
played.
one yesterday, no Luka. So
I was
now it
thinking
doesn't
about
help,
that.
Chris. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say your points are not far off. However, you have to ask yourself, the only time that they were all fully healthy and playing well, meaning the Lakers, was that April 2nd matchup. The question you have to ask yourself, was that first half a fluke or a small enough sample size to where your point is, well, it's not a large enough sample size to show that Oklahoma City can beat the Lakers 4 times out of 7 if the Lakers are fully healthy? Or does it not matter that even a healthy Luka, you're going to get a similar result? It may net you a game, maybe 2, but you're overall not going to beat this team in a series. That is the big question, because you're right. Those other 3 meetings, especially the last one, you could not really judge Lakers against Oklahoma because you don't have the stars out there. Now, he's only his 3rd game back after missing a month. You don't have Luka Doncic. Right. LeBron James is 41 years old. And then here's the flip side. They're not 100% healthy either because they don't have Jalen Williams. So then that's another caveat right there. So it just, to me, I'm not sure even having Doncic out there really matters. In a way, it might be better that the Lakers defensively are down, because think about it. Can a lineup with Luka, AR, and LeBron, Chris, what could they do defensively? That's the issue against this team in particular. That's the thing I'm still a little bit leery
in. The defense isn't the problem, especially in this first game. They held them far below their playoff average and even their regular season average at 108
points. They did a good job on
issue
too, yeah.
The issue was getting good looks and making enough shots. And if Luka was on the floor, AR wouldn't have went 3 for 13 or whatever he was with less than 10 points or 8 points or whatever he had. It puts everybody back into their regular roles. And then you're not looking for guys like Marcus Smart and Luke Kennard to be better than what they already are, and feeling like you're getting let down because you need those guys to step up like they did in game 1 and game 2 of the Houston series, but they weren't able to in game 1. So I just think about it from the perspective of, LeBron is LeBron. So anybody that was thinking about LeBron not being on this team, it wasn't you and it wasn't me. We've always made sure that we given him the proper respect for this team, because where would this team be without him at this point?
Sure. His leadership's been incrivable, especially in that first round series against Houston.
They sure as hell would be in Cancun right now. That's for sure.
Oh, for sure.
They wouldn't still be playing. So big win for JJ, big win for the Lakers. But we measure it by championships over here. So I don't think that this team's going to be able to get it done this year, but we'll see what they come with when the series shifts to LA. If they can get a game, at least at home, that would be respectful. Go out in 5 or 6, great. But the fact that you're shorthanded by, what did LeBron say, over 33, 34 points a game with Luka being out, yeah, it's not going to be an easy task at all to even be competitive in this series. So we won't spend too much time on it, but that's my take on it.
No, listen, you could very well be right. I think there's a few things that the Lakers just have against them. They won by 18 without Jalen Williams. They won by 18 on a subpar night by Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Did you realize this stat last night? Shai Gilgeous had not scored under 20 in a game since last year's playoffs. In any game this season, he's got the streak still going from Wilt Chamberlain or whatever it was. So you lost this game by 18 with guys like Caruso not having a big night, Lou Dort not making shots, Isaiah Hartenstein not really being a factor offensively, and it still wasn't good enough. You had 17 turnovers, which they turned into 20 points, which actually really isn't awful, right? Awful would have been 30 points, 35 points or something like that. So all of that, Shai doesn't have a bad night, and it's still, not only did we lose, but they controlled the game and they controlled us. Now, granted, does Luka Doncic change the dynamic? Absolutely, he does. No question about it. Does Austin Reeves playing better than he did in game one? Change. And I know everyone's saying, oh, this way AR is in the playoffs and everything like that. Yes, but the context on this is a little because he's literally just coming off of an injury. So he's clearly % right now. And this is a difficult series he thrusted into because of how good defensively as a team the Thunder are. And when you're seeing the likes of a Caruso, a Cason Wallace, a Lou Dort coming at you, even Mitchell is not a slouch defensively, neither is Shai Gilgeous. And these guys are just coming at you with their aggression and their physicality. It's going to knock you off your game. And between battling that and shaking off the rust, it's the worst of both worlds. So I think we got to give AR just a little bit of grace right now before we write him off and just say he must. And even if that was the case, he's hardly the only one. And let's see how he plays the next game, and in particular as the series shifts back to LA. But last night, let me just tell you what really concerns me. Was your best opportunity to steal one, and you didn't get it done. Quite the opposite. Now, it would not shock me if OKC pours it on in game two. Would not shock me at all.
Yeah.
I hope I'm wrong. But go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, it's going to be a pretty big blowout in this next game. So OKC spread, OKC to sweep, OKC is the NBA champion. They're going to go back to back pretty clearly, in my opinion, and they better hope that they don't see Minnesota, because Minnesota is going to give them everything they can handle this year, even without Ant being 100% healthy. I think Minnesota is very, very, very tough. The series with the Spurs is going to be very, very close. I think it's going to come down to 7 games, even though it's tied now. And Minnesota Timberwolves got blown out by 40. As you can see, you can get blown out one game and come back. Ask the Magic, ask the Knicks, ask the Pistons, even
the Sixers,
from this year. So speaking of which, the Knicks now have taken a 2-0 lead, and the Pistons are up 1-0 in their series. Are both of these teams on a collision course, Chris, to meet in the Eastern Conference Final? Or do you think the Cavs and the Sixers will have a lot to say about it in this series, even though they're down a game and 2 games each?
I would say on paper, yes. And I'll tell you why. First of all, no Embiid tonight is just a horrible sign. For a guy that claimed how healthy he was, and maybe he was being facetious at the end of that game 7 against Boston, and he looked fantastic. Even in that first game back, Chaz, 26-10, I think, in that game 4 loss when he returned against Boston, I thought he looked great. He led them to a huge win up in Boston in game 5, and then again in game 7. Maxey is, how much of a big fan I am of Tyrese Maxey. I think him and VJ Edgecombe are going to be an explosive backcourt for years to come. They won't quite beat Steph and Clay, but they're going to be like Dame and McCollum were at one point in time. I think if you're Philly, however this series plays out, you have got a lot to be excited on because of Maxey and VJ Edgecombe. But yeah, I think the Knicks, this series is a wrap. If Embiid's not healthy, New York seems to have figured some things out. After they were challenged, they were down 2-1 against Atlanta. They have not looked like the same team since. They have looked dominant. Everyone's getting in on the action. Mikal Bridges looks better. OG's been tremendous. Cat is having a great playoffs. Brunson is being Brunson. They're getting contributions off the bench. Mike Brown's doing a really solid job. And tonight, even though they took a blow from Philly came out aggressive, and I think they went back to how they were playing without Embiid. Paul George, Maxey, and VJ got off to a good start. Just in the second half, they just struggled. The Pistons, on the other hand, I can't fully trust them yet. The difference is I can't really trust Cleveland either, because you can't trust Mitchell and Harden in the playoffs. There's too much of a track record there of those guys coming up short, particularly when the stakes are the highest. So I don't think you could write off Cleveland quite yet, because Detroit doesn't have quite the same pedigree. But if Detroit is getting really good performances out of Tobias Harris and Duncan Robinson like they did in game one, there, of course, and the motorcade is, dude, you want to talk about a gamer, him and Banchero, those are two other guys that I'm really excited about for the future, because they have no fear of the spotlight or the big stage in the playoffs. So shout out to Paolo Banchero. He was outstanding in that first round series for Orlando. But and Cade is just incredible. The question is Cade, can he continually outplay Harden and Mitchell together? And can Harris and Duncan Robinson keep this up? Of course, along with Jalen Duren over the course of the series. That I'm not 100% sure on. So the answer is yes for the Knicks, but for Detroit. Your thoughts?
The answer is yes. They're both going to win their series. Knicks in 5. Pistons are going to have a little bit of an issue. That series is going to go 7 games, because I think Jared Allen and Evan Mobley are going to step up, and Jalen Duren is not going to be as effective as he was game 1 if those guys are stepping up the way that they need to. So I think the Pistons series is going to go long. The Knicks smell blood in the water. Game 3 is going to be all hands on deck. The Sixers cannot go down 3-0. So I do think game 3 and game 4 is going to be pivotal. But from there, I think the Knicks are going to be up 3-1 coming back to New York. And they may not even close it out in 5. Honestly, it may be 6, because I can see New York playing with their food again like they did in Atlanta in game 3. But they might learn from the previous series.
2 dominant road wins
at home. Yeah, I mean we'll see, but I got the Knicks and the Pistons. It's the greatest thing. If we're not getting Knicks Celtics, the Knicks Pistons is the next best thing in my opinion. I thought we were going to get both, honestly, the way that the playoffs were going to be set up, but unfortunately we didn't. And I'll take Knicks Pistons. Hopefully the Cavs don't spoil that, because I do think Donovan Mitchell is going to play with his hair on fire for the rest of the series, especially with his comments about not being able to get to the line enough, even though he does generate the most drives to the basket and points in the pace for a player at his position. So
can I give two shout outs for Philly? One, Embiid, I'm disappointed he didn't play tonight, but for a guy that just had an appendectomy and that scar still being fresh, for you to come back in the middle of that series and to almost look like you hadn't really missed a step, it really just, I think it's bittersweet. It shows what a special dynamic player he is, but it also upsets you, because it's like, you're such a special dynamic player. Why can't you be on the floor more? That's one thing. The other thing too, Nick Nurse lost his brother tragically and suddenly in the middle of that first round series against Boston, and still helped coach his team to a 3-1, from a 3-1 deficit to a game 7 win up in Beantown, and knocking out a team that a lot of people believed was going to come out of the East again this year in the Boston Celtics. And he did it with a heavy heart. So shout out to Nick Nurse and obviously to his family and his brother's family. Tragic loss in their family and whatnot. But you know what, to be able to still do that really just kind of goes to show his moxie, his ability to compartmentalize and whatnot. And, thoughts and prayers are with his family right now, going through what he went through in the loss of his brother. So I just wanted to kind of point both of those things out.
Yeah, absolutely. Scott Van Pelt actually had a one big thing segment about Nick Nurse and just the real life that still goes on and happens, even, while the playoffs are important, they're not as important as, some other things like Nick Nurse's brother passing. So,
well said.
In saying that, Nick Nurse did a great job drawing up his defense against Jaylen Brown, or I should say maybe Jaylen Brown just packed it in and didn't attack the way that he needed to at the end of that game 7 and was kept launching threes only down by 1 point with only 3 and 4 minutes left. You were down by almost 20, get within 1 and can't make a shot. But it wasn't his play on the court that has him in the headlines, more so it's his mouth and what he's saying and not saying right now. And I'm going to say this. I agree with probably 98% of what he said. Now, do I think it's the right timing? He went live again today to clear up some of his thoughts, or some of his comments, I think I should say. He says he loves to play in Boston, would want to play in Boston for the next 10 years if he could. Doesn't have any issues with the Celtics organization. He's just pretty much playing cleanup at that point because he was so pissed off the next day about losing. And I get it. Look, at the end of the day, he's right about the point about the push-off foul because he's called on it more. Is he doing it more? Probably than other players, yes, in terms of pushing off the step back. That's not being called as much, but clearly if Donovan Mitchell is having issues getting calls, Jaylen Brown is having issues, getting calls and getting stuff called on him. I do think that the NBA is a little hypocritical in not wanting its players to say anything about the game and how it's refereed in the playoffs versus the regular season. But when it's so glaring and so obvious that it just becomes known in the NBA by everybody that watches it that the playoffs is a completely different game than the regular season. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you want to find that guy as much, in my opinion. But I do understand why you can't just have guys talking about the league, talking about specific referees, calling them out by name, stuff like that. I completely understand that, but I can't say that Jaylen Brown is wrong. He may be wrong for addressing it the way that he did and causing more controversy towards himself and his organization than he probably needed to, maybe from that perspective. But in terms of factually what's coming out of his mouth, he's not factually wrong, in my opinion.
Okay. Big fan of JB. Great story in the NBA. This was a guy, was an early lottery pick. He was part of that Celtics rebuild in the post Big Three era. He was one of the big him along with Marcus Smart and then eventually Jason Tatum. They were the ones that took the Celtics out of that gutter and they got him back in the playoffs almost immediately after Garnett and Pierce and Allen had all been shipped out and then eventually Rajon Rondo. Here's my problem with him making those comments. You're probably right. And maybe but when you make those kind of comments on the heels of blowing a 3-1 series lead, by the way, a team that you had consistently beaten almost every year you faced them since 1982, right? And you make history losing a 3-1 series lead with home court advantage with 2 opportunities to close them out on your home court. And then when you make those comments, to me, what it looked like was the refs. I'm not saying he said this. I'm saying hindsight is 20/20 in this case. It looks like you blame the refs for the reason why you and your team lost in a 3-1 series lead. That Embiid flopping around was the reason why you lost the 3-1 series lead. And to be quite honest, Chaz, even the most ardent Celtics fans, the most ardent JB fans are not going to give him that kind of grace. Because at the end of the day, you had multiple opportunities to win this game, win a game out of 3 chances, and you lost, bro. You lost.
Hold on. Let me just I'm separating the two. What happened on the floor is different than what he said in his post game. I am not at all absolving him from blowing a 3-1 lead and losing to the Sixers. No, but you're implying it by saying what you said about his comments.
No,
now,
I'm talking about
his comments Chaz, are one thing. They Chaz, don't go hand in hand at all.
I would have liked to have heard more of this. What was the excuse for Maxey and VJ Edgecombe sticking a missile up yours and Derek White's ass? You all couldn't stop you both of you, who are world-class defenders, by the way, and JB definitely earned those credentials from what we saw in the NBA Finals in 2024 against Luka Doncic. Hang on a sec. Y'all couldn't stop anybody.
Podcast. This isn't a media.
You're
this
jacking
isn't a media.
up.
You're not
okay. Well, if
you're not
okay,
even giving perfect context.
I'm not. Well, neither was he. Apparently, he wasn't giving perfect context either. You know what I'm saying? And the timing of it makes him look bad in that instance, bro. It's like the same people that lose an election and they say the shit is rigged. It makes you look like a bad loser. And a lot of people have been saying that too. It's not just me. I just think in those points, I'm not saying JB is wrong. He could be 150% right. But the timing of it, coming off of a 3-1 series loss and then losing in game 7 at home, and like you said, doing it by jacking up a bunch of threes, ill-advised and not driving to the hoop and attacking the basket. I'm just saying it makes you look like a bad loser. It makes you look weak. Can I be honest? That's weak sauce right there. And nobody is trying to hear that, even if you are right, which he very well could be. I just don't think of it is really correct. And I understand you're angry. He probably saw that there was an opportunity this year. I understand that. And there's the shell shock of losing. Believe me, JB, if anyone knows it, it's me and Chaz. We were on the wrong side of a 3-1 series deficit. Or, I'm sorry, 3-1 series loss in 2006 with the Lakers and the Suns. So I know full well what that feels like, and that's gotta suck. However, at the same point in time, when you start calling out the officials and the officiating and not, and then Embiid flopping around and whatnot, I just, to me, it just doesn't make you look good. People are not going to side with you as much as you think that they will, even if you think you're right. That's all I'm saying. It should have been about what the team, you and the team, did wrong at that point. And I'm not even going to use the Tatum thing as an excuse, because Jason Tatum was healthy for the majority of that series. He didn't play in game 7 because he had the knee stiffness and everything like that. Still, though, you were up double figures in game 5. You should have closed out the Sixers.
All right. Fuck this fucking topic. Fuck the Celtics. I could care less. Shit.
I just don't.
Giannis. Damn it. Fuck the Celtics. This damn shit. You could care about what Jaylen Brown says. I'm just saying the guy wasn't factually wrong. Everybody jumping down his goddamn throat just because he wanted to fucking voice his mind because he's on Twitch and has a bunch of fucking fans. Who gives a shit? He wasn't even in a damn press conference answering questions from the media or going back and forth or deflecting. He did his media availability. He did his exit interview. He talked to his boss. He talked to his coach. He talked to Missoula. He said some shit he probably shouldn't have said. Big fucking deal. That's it. Celtics suck. Blow a 3-1 lead. Giannis. The saga continues. Jimmy Haslam. Got me all fucking miscombobulated over here. All right. Jimmy Haslam. In a nutshell, because we're going to sign off for the next 3 minutes, I'm just going to say this right now. Jimmy Haslam. You need to go ahead and trade Giannis before the draft. You said you want to get this resolved by the draft. Go ahead and get your ass on the phone. You can't even extend Giannis until October anyway. He can't even sign the shit until October when the season starts. He wants to be where he needs to be. This relationship has gone awry. You're going to have to give back the franchise in the next, I think, every 3 years or 5 years. They switch off from co-owner to co-owner, whatever it is. Jimmy, it's your turn. Go ahead and trade Giannis. Get as much as you can for him. Rebuild. Get Doc Rivers out of there. Hire a good coach like you did in Taylor Jenkins. Let the guy be empowered and run the franchise and try and get a free agent or two if you can, because you'll have some cap space and you'll have some assets. But outside of that, holding on to Giannis, doing anything like that, you're saying all the right things. And also, flat out, Giannis needs to stop being a bitch and come out and say, I want to go to Miami. I want to go to New York. I want to go to wherever he wants to go, instead of trying to play this cat and mouse game of, hey, I'm not the bad guy. Milwaukee's the bad guy. Don't blame me. I want to be here, but they traded me. No, the fans know you want out. So just go ahead, ask out, and rip the Band-Aid. Chris, go ahead and close this out, man.
Yeah, I agree. First of all, Jimmy Haslam gives me Diet Coke, Jerry Jones vibes for some reason. It's almost like, maybe Jerry had an affair 50, 60 years ago or something like that. Because this dude,
in terms of racist undertones and dog whistles, or hey, was it Jimmy?
I don't know.
Was it Jimmy that said, "Don't let the prisoners run the asylum"? Was that him that said that during the?
Probably. I don't know. First of all, okay, I was trying to make a joke, and then you had to you took it into another. Once again, taking what I said, going somewhere else with it. But yeah, no, Jimmy Haslam definitely gives me Jerry Jones vibes, and who knows, maybe they might be a distant cousin or something like that. Yeah, I think honestly, I agree with you. Giannis has got to put his foot down and just say, listen, I just come. I don't. Taylor Jenkins may be a good coach and whatnot. And I remember him from, that 1 year that he was with Mike Budenholzer before he took the Memphis job. But I want to be in a different I just don't think me and this team are going in the same direction. I want to go to this team. I want to go to that team. And that's the only way you can get the best haul. I mean, when you think about it, yeah, it may not have worked out fully for the New Orleans Pelicans, but they still got a very impressive haul for the time from the Lakers in the Anthony Davis trade. And even some of these other teams, the teams that have traded for Kevin Durant have gotten nice hauls and whatnot. So, I don't like it when a player forces themselves out. But I think in this case with Giannis, the debt. Let me finish. Gosh. I'm just saying I'm not a fan of players forcing themselves out. However, at the same point in time, I do believe that the debt has been paid with the Milwaukee Bucks. I think Giannis has given it his all. I think the organization has done a good job by him, trying to build teams to put him in the best position. It just didn't work out, unfortunately, post the 2021 championship because of injuries and whatnot. And the Dame Lillard thing just was not a great fit for the time. They may have fired Adrian Griffin a little hastily. They fired Mike Budenholzer a little hastily. And Doc Rivers was not a good fit. So I think at this point, it's like, you know what? Let's scrap this. Let's top three player while his value is still where it is, where we can get ourselves picks, young assets, and start rebuilding this thing up. And, I think Giannis is still going to be well respected, well loved, and well revered, no matter where he goes. I think for a Bucks organization that hadn't won a championship since 1960, whatever, I don't think they should be upset with him.
I want to ask you a yes or no question. And I want you to do your best to answer this in an honest yes or no. No qualifiers, no questions, no explanations. Just a yes or no.
Hit me with it.
Do you think that a top 15 player in the league, an all NBA player, has a right, whether it's contractually or legally or whatever, right or not? No. Do you think that they have a right to ask ownership to move them if ownership has shown for multiple years that they are not building a contender the way that they should? Whether it's injuries, whether it's bad contracts, whether it's whatever the circumstances are on why. Do you think, not everybody in the league, no, I'm talking about the top 15 guys, do those guys have a right to ask ownership out if ownership shows for more than 2 seasons that they are not making the right decisions? Yes or no?
Yes, they do have the right. They have the right. It doesn't mean I have to like it. but they have the right. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all. That's all I want to know. Because
Yeah.
when we have this conversation, it seems to me as if you think that the player who asked out. I'm not talking about somebody like Nas Reed or Rudy Gobert or even
Even
Julius
Levine.
Randle
I would throw Levine in there.
yeah, Levine, or I'm talking about top 15 All NBA guys like Giannis, who hasn't asked out, but I'm just talking about Jimmy Butler. When he was asking out, maybe not right now, but at the time when he was asking out, he was an All NBA guy. So
yeah,
that was something that I just wanted to make sure that we got on record on this show.
I think it's for me, Chaz. It's not always.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I know. My connection's starting to wane. Am I back now? Yeah. I just think there's a way. A little. Yeah.
Go ahead and
close this
out. Yeah, go ahead and make your point and then close this out.
No, it's a quick point. It's of course they have the right to do it, and I think in some aspects it's justified. Absolutely. But I think it depends on how it gets done too. I think how it happens and everything like that also matters, and who is doing it matters. I think in a case like Giannis, it just kind of feels like, you know what, he's made this work as much as he could at this point. So I in his case, I would not blame him for asking out. In other guys' case, and this is a separate topic on a different time, we can get more in depth with it. I've been a little bit, pissed off with how players have handled it in years past and whatnot. But everyone's got the reasons why. So, but in Giannis's case, I think he's played his last game as a Buck, and I wish him the best of luck wherever he ends up this summer, because I think more than likely he is going to get moved.
All right. These are quick yes. We're going to close it out on this. Quick yes or no. If you approved of the way that the player handled asking out. Let's start with Kyrie in Cleveland. Yes or no?
No. That was a good situation for him.
Kyrie in Brooklyn.
At first, no, but I think everything that happened, that was the only way he could get himself a fresh start. And you know what? It ended up working out for the best. So that one I was wrong about, but yeah.
KD Brooklyn. Yes or no?
KD to Brooklyn or KD out of Brooklyn to Phoenix?
Out of Brooklyn.
I didn't like that. But then again, KD, the passive aggressive way he does stuff sometimes really bothers me.
Beal out of Washington.
Beal's.
Yes or no, Chris?
Because he's not that good. No, because he sucks. And he's always injured.
AD out of New Orleans.
That wasn't all of his fault. So a lot of that was Dell Demps and the poor way that he handled it. So I'll give AD a bit of a pass on that. Plus, he helped the Lakers win a championship, so I'm fucking biased on that. I don't care.
James Harden out of Houston, Clippers, Brooklyn, or Philly.
Oh man, out of Houston was pretty bad. Out of Houston was pretty bad. Out of Philly was pretty bad. The Clippers that made a little more sense because it kind of felt like they were trending in the wrong direction at the time, and the Clippers needed assets. So 2 out of 3, I guess, I didn't like. Yeah.
And I'll answer all of my own same questions. I have no problem with anybody asking out. The way they do it, the way they don't do it, I could give 2 shits. Get to where you need to go, get your pape, and try and get a ring. I have no issue with it.
Okay. Well, I'm not fully in disagreement with you.
Except, and this wasn't somebody forcing their way out. this is somebody that just made a decision that I just didn't care for, and that was KD going to Golden State. That is the only move where I'm like, man, I didn't like that. Where I actually really didn't, like that move. But I understood it from his perspective. I understood it. It made sense. It just sucked as a
He was
fan
following
of
the
the
LeBron
game.
route. Yeah.
Yeah, and I get it. You trying to get your chips because shit, it's pretty clear and apparent. Had he not made that move, he might be Charles Barkley right now. So
I think
I
and
can't say I
honestly,
blame him too much.
Chaz, once again though, timing. The timing of it sucked. Why? I think that's what really bothered people was the fact that you had just blown a 3-1 series lead against this team, right? And then a few months later, after they made history against you, you join up with them. Like, it just was a terrible look. And the timing of it, had he done that or something, I don't think it would have been as bad. You know what I mean? But like literally a couple of months removed from getting eliminated in the conference finals and then signing with them. I think that's what really, I agree with you. I just think, once again, when and how matters outside of, you asked if they have the right. Absolutely. But I do think there's a way of doing it well where you could still save face and do it in a way where everybody comes out looking decent out of it. Ownership, front office, and the player themselves. So that's just my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know.
Chris, it wasn't even 45 days in between the loss and him signing.
I know.
So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Now, was it good for his career? Absolutely. And not to mention, he played great on that team. He wasn't riding anyone's coattails. He won two championships and 2 finals MVPs. And not only was he scoring efficiently, Chaz, he was guarding LeBron James, who was at his peak at that point. So in those championships, he was taking on tough defensive assignments. And who knows, he would have had probably a 3rd ring had his Achilles not blown out in 2019 and then Clay not going down when he did in game 6 of that series. So, it just kind of sucked how it all ended. And I don't think he's been the same since, to be quite honest with you. Not individually and certainly not with team success. He's still a hell of a player. He's still putting up great numbers. He's still, elite. But as far as success goes, he has never had anything close to that time that he had in Golden State or even before that with OKC.
It is what it is, dog. Well, on that note, we appreciate you guys tapping into the Outlet Forum. We will see you guys next week when we talk some more playoff basketball. Hopefully the Lakers are still playing and they don't get swept by the time we get back on, but we'll just have to see. But I will say the Knicks, they might sweep by the time we get on here next Wednesday. Chris, where can they follow you, my man?
At Chris_Camelo on X, CCamelo1 on Instagram. Be sure to follow us on YouTube and IG, as well as X at the Outlet Forum. That's at the Outlet Forum. Shout out Paco. Thanks for joining us on the YouTube chat. Do the odds change? We'll see, man. But if you think Luka is going to be back by game 4, which I believe will be next Monday, the 11th, you got another thing coming, man.
Man,
just want to throw that in there.
I'm looking forward to seeing how these playoff games unfold in the second round and set up for the Eastern Western Conference Finals. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks for tapping in. We'll see you later. Peace.